Hello children. So in our previous video we have seen the terminology that we will be coming across when we are dealing with the deeper concepts of the chapter. So followed by in this video we will be learning some important concepts that you need to know before you start working on Mendel's laws. So I just want to introduce some of the important things that you should know before we start with Mendel's laws. So here you can see what are the dominant and recessive characters in pea plants. So we all know like Mendel has selected pea plant as his experimental material. So in that experimental material, pea plant is actually scientifically called as Pisum sativum. This is actually one of the frequently repeated board question that appears in most of the papers as 1 mark question. So this you can keep it in mind. Like pea plant, the scientific name should be remembered. It is Pisum sativum. Now we quickly see what are the dominant characters and recessive characters in pea plants. So if you can remember them, it would be very easy to do the remaining part of the Mendel's laws. So as you can see here, when we see the seed shape, so traits are nothing but the characteristics that can be found. So around 7 of the traits are selected by Mendel when he was like conducting experiments on pea plant. So when we consider seed shape in the pea plant, you can see round is the dominant trait and wrinkled is the recessive trait. So as we discussed earlier, it is denoted by capital R as it is dominant, and wrinkled is denoted by small r. Similarly, when we go with seed color, yellow seed color of the pea would be dominant over green. So yellow is given capital Y there and green will be given the corresponding small letter, that is small y. You can even take small g also, but that will mostly confuse you. So it would be always better you go with the same kind of letter in an uppercase and a lowercase. Next we see pod. This is actually called as the pod. So when we look at the shape of the pod, Mendel found like inflated pods. Inflated are like you can see, it's almost like a balloon, like as if it is filled with air. So such kind of inflated pods are dominant over constricted pods. So constricted, they almost look like this, which are wrinkled. So they gave small I there for constricted and inflated pod is given capital I. Similarly, pod color. When we talk about pod color, you can see green pod color is the dominant character denoted by capital G. Yellow pod color is the recessive character denoted by small g. When we talk about pea flowers, purple pea flower is the dominant character, so it is denoted by capital P, whereas white pea flowers are recessive, so denoted by small p. Then we have flower position. Like flower position is axial and terminal. Axial is something which is very close to the nodes. Like we have nodes are the places where we have new leaves coming up, new branches coming up and all. So if the flowers are in the axils, like on the left side or on the right sides of the branches, we call them as axial position. So axial flowers are dominant. So they are denoted by capital A there, and terminal flower, as you can see here, the flowers that are almost at the corners or almost at the top tips of the stem, so that we call it as terminal flower. So terminal flower is a recessive character, so it is denoted by small a. Now height we have already discussed. It is the tall height of the plant that is dominant, so denoted by capital T, followed by short height is recessive, so it is denoted by small t. So if you can remember what are the dominant characters in pea plants and what are the recessive characters in pea plants and what letters are used, it would be very easy when we start with Mendel's laws. So followed by we have like why actually Mendel choose pea plants as the experimental material. So we were discussing like Mendel preferred pea plant as an experimental material. So there are some reasons because of which he actually choose. So they say that they show many visible contrasting characters. Now we have seen so many visible contrasting characters like pea flowers. We can see white flowers are there, purple flowers are there. If we look at the position, the position can be axial. Sometimes the flowers can be at the tips, or when we look at the pod shape, you can see inflated pods are there, constricted pods are there. Sometimes when we look at the height of the plant, there can be tall pea plant, it can be short pea plant. So these are all the many visible contrasting characters. The second reason, they are feasible to undergo self pollination as well as cross pollination. So self pollination is nothing but where the pollen is getting transferred from the anther to the stigma within a same flower, or it may be different flower in the same plant. On the other hand, when we talk about cross pollination, the pollen gets transferred from anther to stigma of a different flower and a different plant. So this pea plant is feasible to undergo both the modes of pollination, like it can even undergo self-pollination and can also undergo cross-pollination. So that actually made Mendel's work very easy when he was experimenting on pea plant. And you see, plants, we all know, like plants produce the offsprings within a very short period of time. That is one of the advantage that Mendel had when he was selecting pea plants as the experimental material, like they were producing many generations within a short period of time. But imagine if Mendel would have conducted his experiment on an animal. Mostly animals will take long time to reproduce. So that will actually why take away all the time of Mendel in order to conduct experiment on the animal. So he selected the pea plant as the experimental material because of these three reasons. Like they were showing many visible contrasting characters, they were able to undergo self pollination and cross pollination, and they were also producing many generations within a short period of time. Now next we need to know, like there will be two kinds of cross that we will be discussing when we will start with Mendel's laws. So there can be two kinds of cross here. One is monohybrid cross, the other one we have dihybrid cross. So as the name indicates, mono is something single. Hybrid is the young one that comes out when you cross two different parents. We call it as hybrid. So mono hybrid cross is a kind of cross that is happening between the parents having single contrasting character. Now let me tell you what is actually a single contrasting character. Suppose if you take height of the plant. Now when you consider height of the plant, we can have two variations there. Like either the plant can be tall or the plant can be dwarf. Suppose if you take seed shape, that's a character there, and you can have two contrasting features there. Like either the seed can be round or the seed can be wrinkled. Suppose if you take seed color, either the seed can be yellow or the seed can be green. So here the characteristic selected is only one. Either you are selecting height of a plant, or you are selecting shape of the seed, or you may be selecting color of the flower or position of the flower. So only one single contrasting character is selected and the parents are crossbred between them. Such kind of crosses we call them as monohybrid cross. So here you can see example, there is a cross happening between tall plant and a dwarf plant. So where the contrasting character selected was height, and you can have two variations there. One parent can be tall and one parent can be dwarf. Now let us move on to dihybrid cross. Di refers to two. So it is very simple here. You can just write from the first definition itself, children. It is the cross that is happening between parents having two contrasting characters. So now we need to mix two of the characters. Like suppose if I say height of the plant and shape of the seed. So we have two contrasting characters there. We selected height of the plant and shape of the seed, or maybe height of the plant and color of the seed, or maybe height of the plant and flower position, or it may be seed shape and seed color. So you are selecting two contrasting characters there, and you are crossing such kind of parents. So the young one that comes out is actually called as a dihybrid. So the same example I have taken here, cross is happening between a tall plant having round seed, that is one parent. Another parent is a dwarf plant having wrinkled seed. So when you look at them, the contrasting characters that we have selected are two. We have selected height of the plant, where two variations we have seen, tall plant and a dwarf plant. We have selected shape of the seed, where two variations we have seen, wrinkled seed and a round seed. So this kind of crosses you will come across when we will be moving into the details of Mendel's laws. So there you can just like that do it if you are able to understand what exactly is a monohybrid cross and what exactly is a dihybrid cross. Now, whenever you are crossing the gametes in Mendel's laws, that has to be represented in this square format. So this kind of square, Mendel called it as Punnett square. So Punnett square is just like a diagrammatic representation where you can see gametes are getting crossed. So it's just a diagrammatic representation of crossing to show the crossing of gametes happening. Like for example, I have just taken a sample picture here where the father's gametes are written here capital B, small b, and we have mother's gametes here capital B, capital B. So when you cross them, how do we cross actually? You can see like this, first mother's gamete with first father's gamete. Again first mother's gamete with second father's gamete. So here you are getting capital B, capital B. And when you cross capital B with small b, you are getting capital B, small b. So first line is done. Now again we'll go with mother's second gamete. So it is again capital B. Cross it with father's first gamete, you will get capital B again. Mother's second gamete with father's second gamete, you will get capital B, small b. So this is how generally we represent. And whenever we are representing, we should always see that the capital letter is written first, or the dominant alleles are always written first, followed by the recessive alleles. That will actually give you a beautiful presentation, and it will not make you confuse whenever you are writing the zygotes. So these are the four different kinds of zygotes. So the structures that are obtained after crossing the gamete, we generally call them as zygote. So we have four gametes here, you can see capital B, capital B, capital B, small b, capital B, capital B, capital B, small b. So 50% zygotes were capital B, capital B. 50% zygotes were capital B, small. This is only a diagrammatic representation which will give you an idea like how to arrange the gametes in the Punnett square. So don't get confused with this. We will not have these kinds of this. It will be very easy when we will be looking into Mendel's laws. So the next one is the recapitulation for the day, as every time I give you children. So based on the concepts that are taught, I have shared some questions for you that will actually help you to understand better. And still, if you feel any difficulty in understanding any concept that I have shown in the video, or that I have talked, or that I have discussed in this video, you are free to express that in the comment box. I'll be happy to answer that, and please do feel free to find out the answers even, and you can just post the answers in the comment box. Definitely I'll be checking that. And if you liked this explanation, as usual, please try to subscribe this channel by pressing on bell icon, and please do like the video if you really liked it, and I'll be happy for that, and please encourage me. Thank you children.